Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be discussing the business of college sports and taking a deep dive into the money behind NCAA athletics. College sports, particularly football and basketball, are big business in the United States. Millions of fans tune in to watch their favorite teams compete, and the NCAA generates billions of dollars in revenue every year. But where does all this money come from, and how is it distributed? In this video, we'll explore the various sources of revenue for college sports, the financial challenges facing NCAA programs, and the ongoing debate over whether or not student athletes should be paid. Part 1. The sources of revenue for college sports. There are several sources of revenue for college sports programs, including television contracts. Major college sports conferences, such as the SEC and the Big Ten, have lucrative television contracts with networks like ESPN and CBS. These contracts can generate millions of dollars in revenue for each conference. For example, the SEC's television contract with CBS and ESPN is worth a reported $55 million per year. The Big Ten's contract with Fox and ESPN is worth a reported $240 million per year. These contracts typically include the rights to broadcast regular season games, as well as conference championships and bowl games. Ticket sales. Many college sports programs also generate revenue through ticket sales. This can include not only tickets to games, but also luxury box rentals and other premium seating options. For example, the University of Michigan's football program generates millions of dollars in revenue each year through ticket sales, with the school reporting $23.9 million in ticket sales in 2019. Sponsorships and merchandise. College sports programs also generate revenue through sponsorships and merchandise sales. This can include everything from jerseys and hats to advertising on stadium signage. Sponsorship deals can be lucrative for college sports programs, with major corporations often paying millions of dollars to have their brands associated with successful athletics programs. Donations. Many college sports programs rely on donations from boosters and alumni to fund their programs. These donations can be in the form of cash, or they can be made in the form of facilities or other resources. For example, a booster might donate money to a college sports program to help fund a new training facility, or to help pay for the salaries of coaches and other staff members. Part 2. The financial challenges facing NCAA programs. Despite the various sources of revenue available to college sports programs, many NCAA programs still face financial challenges. This is due in part to the high cost of running a successful athletics program. For example, college sports programs often have to pay for coaches, trainers, and other staff members. These salaries can be significant, with top coaches often earning millions of dollars per year. In addition, college sports programs have to cover the costs of travel, which can be expensive given the amount of games that teams play and the distance they have to travel. Equipment costs, such as uniforms and other gear, can also be significant. Another financial challenge for NCAA programs is the cost of funding non-revenue sports, such as tennis or swimming. While these sports can be expensive to run, they often generate little in the way of revenue. This can be a particular problem for smaller colleges and universities, which may struggle to fund these programs without financial support from the school or donors. Part 3. The debate over whether student athletes should be paid. There is ongoing debate over whether or not student athletes should be paid for their participation in college sports. Supporters of paying student athletes argue that they deserve to be compensated for the time and effort they put into their sports, as well as the risks they take to their health and well-being. They also point out that college sports programs generate billions of dollars in revenue, and that student athletes are effectively working for the NCAA and their respective universities. Some have proposed that student athletes be paid a salary or stipend, or that they be allowed to receive endorsement deals or other forms of compensation. Opponents of paying student athletes argue that college sports are an amateur activity and that student athletes should be focused on their education, not their sports. They also point out that student athletes already receive scholarships that cover their tuition, room, and board, which can be worth tens of thousands of dollars per year. Some opponents of paying student athletes argue that paying student athletes would lead to a professionalization of college sports and undermine the amateur nature of NCAA programs. There have been a number of legal challenges to the NCAA's amateurism rules, with some student athletes arguing that they should be allowed to be paid for the use of their name, image, and likeness. These cases have yet to be fully resolved, and the debate over whether student athletes should be paid continues to be a topic of discussion. Part 4. The role of the NCAA in college sports. The NCAA is a non-profit organization that oversees college sports in the United States. It is responsible for establishing rules and regulations for college sports programs, and for enforcing those rules. The NCAA also plays a role in distributing revenue generated by college sports programs. The NCAA operates on a divisional structure, with Division I being the highest level of competition. Division I programs are typically the largest and most successful programs, and they generate the most revenue. Division II and Division III programs are smaller and less competitive, and they generate less revenue. The NCAA distributes revenue generated by college sports programs in a number of ways. For example, the NCAA provides financial support to Division II and Division III programs to help them fund their athletics programs. The NCAA also provides grants to student athletes to help cover the costs of their education. Part 5: The Future of College Sports. It remains to be seen what the future of college sports will look like. There are a number of issues and challenges facing the industry, including the ongoing debate over whether student athletes should be paid, the high cost of running athletics programs, and the financial challenges facing smaller colleges and universities. One possible future for college sports is the further professionalization of the industry. Some have argued that student athletes should be allowed to be paid for the use of their name, image, and likeness, and that college sports programs should be allowed to operate more like professional sports teams. Others have suggested that college sports programs should be required to pay their student athletes a salary or stipend. Another possible future for college sports is the further expansion of the NCAA's television contracts and other sources of revenue. As college sports continue to grow in popularity, there may be opportunities for the NCAA to generate even more revenue through television contracts, sponsorships, and other sources. Regardless of what the future holds, it is clear that college sports will continue to be a major part of American culture and a significant source of revenue for colleges and universities. In conclusion, the business of college sports is a complex and multifaceted industry that generates billions of dollars in revenue every year. While there are a number of sources of revenue for college sports programs, including television contracts, ticket sales, sponsorships, and donations, many programs still face financial challenges due to the high cost of running a successful athletics program. The debate over whether student athletes should be paid for their participation in college sports is ongoing, with supporters arguing that student athletes deserve to be compensated and opponents arguing that college sports should remain an amateur activity.